Seasoned with Grace Unbox presents Tune Up Tuesdays. This live weekly event is here to provide you and your family with tools for stronger family relationships. And now, here are your hosts, Doctors Robert and Denise Davis.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tune Up Tuesdays, presented by Seasoned with Grace. Tune Up Tuesdays give viewers tools and strategies to tune up, to improve, and to enhance family relationships. We want to help you gain a better understanding of your family as well as equip you to improve family relationships. From communication to finances to parenting to every aspect of family relationships, we are here to build stronger families. So let's get started.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Davis. Again, I want to thank each of you for joining us for Tune Up Tuesdays. For the past few weeks, we have been discussing controlling our emotional reactions as we seek to improve family relationships. And today, we're going to continue exploring the area of emotions. I believe that if we understand the origin of our emotions and how they are manifested in our relationships, we can work on them a lot better and ultimately develop stronger, healthier relationships. The reason we have been focusing on controlling our emotions is because we react emotionally, and the way we react emotionally has a profound impact on our family relationships and our emotional functioning. How a person responds when they get angry or sad, and we've been talking about this the last several weeks, how a person responds when they get angry or sad or annoyed or frustrated or happy or stressed or depressed impacts the entire family relationship and the entire emotional functioning of the individual. And as we realize, each family member has a profound impact on other family members, so it also impacts the entire family functioning.
That's true. So, Robert, there is a difference between emotional functioning and executive management functioning.
Okay.
Some of the most successful and well-organized people have a difficult time with relationships.
So I guess we need to understand then that there is a separation between emotional functioning and executive management functioning. And you use the term executive management functioning, and I'm going to let everyone know that you got it from me. So I'm going to define what that is. Executive management function is just basically the ability to be able to manage your life, to be able to set a schedule, to do a budget, to know what you're going to do first, second, and next. And Dr. Davis is a speech-language pathologist. And as she works in the school system, one of her responsibilities is to actually teach individuals who are developmentally delayed or who have some kind of mental impairment, thank you, how, in fact, to do some of these things that we take for granted. Right. So there are some people who are very high functioning when it comes to an executive level on their jobs, starting businesses, etc. However, they don't do as well when it comes to managing their relationships. So there are people, and I want to be fair here, because there are people who do well managing corporations and stuff of that nature, but they don't do well in their personal relationships. And we see individuals who've been married 4, 5, 6 times, and they're multimillionaires. But to be fair, there are people who have a difficult time with executive management functioning and relationship functioning. And I'll be honest with you, it is harder to be poor and dysfunctional. Denise, do me a favor, because we've gotten to some stuff already. So do me a favor, take a moment and recap for us. Okay.
So, we've been talking about Murray Bowen, and we've been reading his quote in Family Therapy and Clinical Practice, page 436, and it says, "When any key member of a family can accurately observe what is going on in their family, as well as the part they play in it, when they can control their own emotional reactions, when they can avoid counterattacking when they're provoked, and when they can maintain an active relationship with other key members of their family without withdrawing, emotionally checking out, or becoming silent, the entire system will change in a series of predictable steps." So this is the essence of producing change in your family's system. This is the method of coaching one person through the predictable functioning of their family system and supervising their efforts to modify their own functioning in all other relationships.
So far, thank you very much for that recap. So far, we've discussed three of the first steps in the process of improving family relationships. First, we identified all of the family members or the key members in our family. Second, we talked about how to accurately observe what's going on in the family relationship. And then third, we discussed how to observe the part that we play in our family's functioning. Last week, our homework assignment, or our journaling homework assignment, was to list key members of our family that influenced your life and to answer the following questions. How do or did they respond to the different emotions, these key members, how do or did they respond to the following emotions? Anger, stress, loneliness, fear, depression, grief, etc. Then we had the second part of that homework assignment was, how do you respond to the following emotions? Anger, stress, loneliness, fear, depression, grief, etc. And what emotional responses would you most like to change? And so we talked about that last week.
Okay. So we're going to continue focusing on the part that says controlling our emotional reaction. If you want to catch up on review the previous episodes of Tune Up Tuesdays, you can go to the Facebook page or on our YouTube channel. For every emotion we have a way that we respond, and that way we respond has an impact on us and our families. Some of our responses are productive and some are counterproductive. The truth is, we will never know until we become aware and honest. That's why listing our family members help us to be more aware of who influences us. So last week we looked at 4 people who have had the greatest impact on how you function or react emotionally to situations. This was a great start, but we need to go one step further. We took ownership of listing family members and what we took from them in the way we react emotionally. But now let's focus squarely on us. What are my emotions and how do I react to these emotions? So, Robert, what are the 3 main emotions you find yourself feeling on any given day?
Okay, that's a good one. The 3 main emotions I find myself feeling on any given day. I would say anger, happy, and pensive.
Anger, happy, and pensive.
Yes.
Anger, happy, pensive.
Yeah, I know. I'm an emotional train wreck. I'm all over the place.
Okay. Well, let's unpack them. So last week we talked about some ways you respond emotionally that reminds you of your grandfather.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we'll leave anger alone for now and let's deal with pensive.
Oh, so you choose pensive. Okay.
Okay. So let's tell us a little bit about being pensive.
As much as I talk, as verbose as I am, and
That's
those
the
of
word
y'all,
I use for you.
Yes, for those of y'all who are not familiar with Denise and I, she's constantly telling me, keep it concise. You're too verbose. So, as much as I like to talk, I actually spend a lot of time in deep thought and in reflection.
True. That's true. Okay. So, what causes you to become pensive?
There are a lot of reasons why I find myself going into deep thought or into a pensive feeling. But for today's exercise, I'll mention 2 of them.
Okay.
And I think these are the 2 that probably have the greatest impact on why I find myself or may see myself becoming pensive. And that is in response to criticism as well as in response to failure.
Okay. So have you spent much time exploring why you become pensive after criticism and failure?
Actually, I have, but focusing on why is not always beneficial. Okay. The why question can sometimes lead us down the road of blaming others for our behavior. So, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it, but, why do you do this? Why do you do that? Why do you do the other? Sometimes that can cause us, as I try to get my spot back, sometimes that can cause us to, take some counterproductive measures. What I mean by that is, again, sometimes we can blame others or we can use circumstances and life situations as an excuse.
To go down a rabbit hole.
To go down a rabbit hole, yeah.
Okay.
And one of the things, it's very important for us to take ownership of our own emotions, no matter what our past may be. But since you asked so nicely, in my family of origin, going back to the why, some of the why, in my family of origin, I was an overfunctioner. As I've shared with you before, Even as a young teenager, I held a job within my family. I was responsible for helping two of my brothers get their GED. Don't ask me why I helped them to get their GED.
Or how.
Or how. That was back before. The world was a different place before 9/11. I'll tell you that much. And you just walk into a room without any ID and just do a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Now I'm starting to date myself. I'm an old man. But and so I was over functioner for my family. And so much of my self-identity, some of my who I am type of thing, comes from success and approval. So, whenever I receive criticism or things of that nature, I find myself internalizing it and spending a lot of time reflecting about, what did this person think, or what did I do wrong, or how could I do this differently, etc.
Okay. So how do you react emotionally when you become pensive?
Two of the ways I guess I would say that I react emotionally is I withdraw. And if I feel that the criticism is too intense, I find myself cutting off.
Okay.
I find myself, I'll cut off of relationships or withdraw from a particular environment or things of that nature. So when I say I withdraw, I mean by that is I kind of go into my own little cocoon and just my own... Emotionally, just kind of get away from everyone, just to be off all to myself. And I'm an extrovert, at least that they keep telling me on all these personality tests I take. But I'm an extrovert, but I find myself withdrawing. And then, like I said, I find myself also, cutting off.
Okay. Well, I believe that too often we're unaware of our emotions and how we react to them. Also, I notice that we're moving in and out of knowing how our family functions to understanding how we function. So transitioning between what our family does and what we do seem to be the crux of what we have read each week. When we can accurately observe what is going on in their family, as well as the part we play in it, when we can control our own emotional reaction.
I say it like this: the change my family needs is for me to change. So you notice, as you said before, the whole I thing. If I can accurately observe what's going on in my family, and if I can identify the part that I play in it, if I can control my own emotional reactions, if I can refrain from attacking when I am provoked, and so the onus again is on me. And so, like I said, the way that I would word that is the change my family needs is for me to change.
Okay.
I can't change the past, and that's why sometimes going on that whole why. It's good to be aware of our past. It's good to understand our family dynamics, but not to necessarily put blame on individuals, because the reality of the matter is I can't change the past. And so some of the individuals who are viewing this right now, some of you who are watching this right now, you had some very traumatic experiences in your past. Some of you were abused, some were molested, some were neglected. Some of you, came from very healthy and functional homes. Some of you had one episode, a teacher at school or whatever it may be, but we don't want to get into this thing while we hold people responsible for their actions. We don't want to just wallow and say, okay, it's all their fault. So
we don't want to live there.
Yeah, we don't want to live. I like that. We don't want to live there. I can't change the past. I can be aware of the past, but I can't change it. What I want to focus on is becoming more self-aware.
Okay, so it sounds like you're echoing exactly what I said last week. I can change the way I function, and I can choose to respond more constructively.
That's because you're brilliant.
All right, so being more self-aware helps me to take control of my own emotions, my choices, my life. My responses don't have to be dictated by history, my ancestry, or other forces outside of my control. I can take control of my emotions and emotional responses.
I'm not going to lie and pretend that this is easy. All the stuff that we've been talking about, I guess, except, necessarily listing the key family members, but all these things that we've been talking about, observing what is going on in your family, observing the part that you play. This is a certain skill set that is developed over time, and it's not easy work. And I don't want to lie to you. This is hard work, but it is worth it. It is worth the work of being honest with yourself, understanding how your family operates, how your family functions, understanding how you respond to various stimuli, how you respond in various situations. What do you do when you are provoked? It's hard work, but it is worth it. And if we stick with it, it will pay off. You know, there are more steps in this process, which we're going to pick up on next week. But I just want to say, you know, one of the things that they say in Alcoholics Anonymous, that if you work it, it works. It works. If you work it, it works. We still have to remain connected to our family. We still have to work on understanding the generational forces that shaped our family. And there's much more. But again, it is worth all the work. It is worth all the hard work to be able to get to a place where you are no longer controlled by others. And we're going to talk about this sometime in the future. I'm not exactly sure when we get to the area of forgiveness. But one of the reasons why it is so vitally important for us to do this hard work is because we want to be in control of our lives and in control of our destinies. Along with the power of God, we don't want other human beings to dictate our life. You know, one of the worst things in the world, and some of you who are watching this can identify with them about what I'm about to share. One of the most difficult things in the world is when you are having a good time, you and some friends are laughing or whatever it may be, and then someone who you are having a difficult time with, someone who you have aught against, that you're angry with, walks into the room, and then all of a sudden it just changes your entitled emotions.
Sucks the air out the room.
It just sucks the air out the room, and everyone else can still be laughing, but then all of a sudden you start to have all of these reactions inside of your body, inside of your mind, and it just, you know, you just lose all of the fun. You know, to let someone have that type of control over you is just not healthy. Letting a family member have that kind of control over you is just so unhealthy. Letting other individuals. So while I do want to understand how they operate, what I learn from them, I do want to understand how I typically respond in various situations. I don't want to, as you said, I don't want to get stuck there. I don't want to live there, because I don't want that. I want to have the type of control where I can say, you know what? That person does X, Y, and Z, but when I'm around them, I don't have to respond that way. I'm making a decision, and at first it's going to seem rehearsed. At first it's going to seem forced, because at first it is. Whenever you're learning a new exercise, whenever you're learning a new discipline, it is forced. It is rehearsed. You know, I was watching today one of my favorite boxers. His name is Andre Ward, and she's looking at me right now because she's saying I'm getting verbose, but it's worth it. It's worth the verbosity this time. I was watching one of my favorite boxers of all time. His name is Andre Ward, and if you go on YouTube, he has like a little tutorial that he was doing with one of the interviewers, and I was just watching, and he talked about how his trainer, Hunter, which is the trainer's name, how Virgil Hunter would make him do all of these different exercises and make him work muscles that he wasn't used to working, etc., and how difficult that was. And nobody wants to do that. Everybody wants to do the stuff that's easy, the stuff that they are used to. But as we learn to do these things, they start off difficult at first, but man, it is so refreshing when you can go around family members and they may very well still respond the way that they typically respond, and they may act the way they typically react. But you can say, you know what? I know this is how I used to respond, but I've been working on it, and I'm going to respond differently. It is freeing. It is liberating. And the Bible says something that I think is so tremendous. It says that whom the Son of Man sets free, he is free indeed.
He's truly free indeed.
And so I just want to leave you with those words of encouragement.
Okay. Well, speaking of work, are you all ready for Christmas?
Financially or emotionally? Emotionally, I'm ready. I'm ready for Christmas.
Oh, emotionally, we're ready.
I don't have a dime in my pocket, but I'm ready for Christmas.
And so are our viewers. Okay. So, well, we've got more work for you. Robert, what's our homework for next week?
All right, if I haven't already talked enough, let me wind it down by saying your homework for next week is I want you to journal your responses to the following questions. You got that journal book, and I want you to journal your responses to the following question. What are 3 of the main emotions you typically experience on any given day? Since I had to answer it, now you got to answer it. What situations cause you to experience these emotions? And remember, they may not all be negative emotions. How do you react when you experience these emotions? And if they're not productive, what would you want your emotional reactions to be? So I'm going to give a very quick example of that. If when my boss, we'll use someone outside of our immediate family, now let's go to our workplace family. If my boss waits till the last minute of the day to put extra stuff on my desk, and I find myself getting angry, and then I begin to complain to other, so the annoyed, that's a better one. I find myself getting annoyed, and the way that I respond to that annoyance is by complaining to my immediate coworkers who are around me. I know that that's not productive. I know that that's not the way that I want to do. So if that's not how I want to handle it, then how would you want to handle that emotional reaction? What would you want it to be? So as you begin to think through, okay, the way I'm handling it is not productive. So what is the way that you do want to handle it? So again, your homework assignment is journal your responses to the following questions. What are 3 of the main emotions you typically experience on any given day? What situations cause you to experience these emotions? How do you react when you experience these emotions? And if they're not productive, what would you want your emotional reactions to be?
Okay. So we'll be back here next week. It will be Christmas Eve, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come join us for Tune-Up Tuesdays, because even the smoothest running family needs a Tune-Up Tuesday. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Thank you for watching Tune-Up Tuesday. You can connect with us on Facebook or check out our website at swg-unboxed.org. That's swg-unboxed.org. Again, thank you for watching, and tune in next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another insightful episode of Tune-Up Tuesday. Seasoned with Grace Unboxed also provides healthy relationship training and leadership development for businesses, churches, and community organizations. For a free consultation to discuss your team's needs, please contact us at our website at swg-unboxed.org. That's swg-unboxed.org.